That's working. All right. All right, you guys ready here? You guys ready online? All right, Father, we ask to just find people with open eyes and open ears in Jesus' name, amen. All right, today is Sunday, March 15th, or March 5th, 2023, and this is my little Bible study. And Sunday nights, we're in the book of Genesis. All right, last time we were in the book of Genesis, we were talking about giants, right? All right. We started breaking that down, and we found the first place that the word giant is used. It's really kind of a mistranslation from the word Nephiliel, which means the fallen ones, all right? And that explains the next verse, who the sons of God actually were. If you remember, when we went to the usual place that I like to go is Job chapter 1 and chapter 2, where the same scene, it just outlines it flatly who the sons of God are. All right. This is documented in other places. Job chapter 38 also refers to the sons of God. So where were you when the two morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Talking about the first heaven and earth age. So that's a part of that. So we took care of that. So we know what was going on then. We know that the sons of Adam, or the daughters of Adam, were being given in marriage to the Nephilim, and then their offspring were known as giants. Now, whether they were actually giants, we don't know. The word means tyrant, means bully. And we translate to the word tyrant, or to giant. It doesn't really matter. We know this is a genetic relationship between fallen angels and flesh women. Okay, so that's really what the sin was in the days of Noah. All right, now why the days of Noah? Why are the days of Noah so important? All right, well, the reason why is because the days of Noah are referred to in the New Testament by both Christ here. Anybody know what the Greek equivalent to Noah is? It's Noe, N-O-E. All right, so if you ever run into it and you don't know what it is, that's just a Greek equivalent, all right? Now, in the New Testament, you'll find Noah is referred to in both Matthew and in Luke, all right? Now, in Matthew, it's in chapter 24, verse 37 and 38, all right? It says, "But as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days," this is verse 38, "as in those days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." All right, the same thing is repeated in Luke 17, verses 26 and 27. All right, you have another reference to Noah in Luke in chapter 3. Now, that's a double witness. So we talked about this before. If you find it in one place, you need another witness to make it pretty solid. All right, so we have that then in two of the Gospels. 2 out of the 4 Gospels have that direct mention of Noah. Now, the other 2 also mention it, but it's in an indirect way. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end, things like that. Just other places that the same statement is made. At one place, while Christ was yet in the tomb, remember, he went into the other side of the Gulf and freed the prisoners on the other side of the Gulf. It says it got all the way back to the days of Noah, which was all the way back to the beginning, saying back to the beginning of this age. All right, so it's used over and over and over to refer to the end days. So it becomes very important then to actually understand exactly what it was that's going on during the days of Noah. All right, now, with that being said, let's go back to Genesis chapter 6. We're going to pick it up in verse 9. All right, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. All right, again, we're still on a genetics study. We've been on genetics now for a while. We've been following a specific bloodline ever since we hit the Garden of Eden. All right? And Noah is no day. Noah is a direct descendant of Adam. Not of the 6-day creation, but of Adam specifically. All right? That's part of the perspective that you need to get a hold of when we start talking about Noah's day. All right, with that being said, let's see what it does. So it's a genetic study. He's perfect in his generations. Him, his sons, and their wives, none of them intermixed with the Nephilim. All right, so they have a pure lineage still. All right, and Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, and the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. All right, now if you've been joining us on our Thursday night study, last Thursday we hit on this pretty good about the earth being filled with violence. Says we're directly related to the days of Noah. Well, welcome to our world. All right. We studied last Thursday then, but it just crosses over real well to the days of Noah, all right? We started about the law about murder, what a murderer was, right? That somebody who lies in wait and premeditates, that you're supposed to have a trial, and then they should be handed over to the avenger of blood that they may die. Okay? Now, the reason why we have all this violence going on around us is because we've ceased to do that a long time ago. If you're paying attention to what's been going on in the news, all right? We had the Alex Murdaugh trial.
Yeah.
Anybody know about this guy? All right, this genius, all right, decides to lie in wait and premeditate, murdered his wife and his son. All right? Convicted of guilty on both counts, got 2 consecutive life sentences instead of the death penalty like he rates.
Yeah.
All right? Last week, a little bit before that, we had another one going on. We had, remember the guy that went in, I think it was in Georgia, into the grocery store? All right, a white guy walks into a store in Georgia with the express intent of killing black people for no other reason because they're black.
Crazy.
All right? Kills 10 people. He's found guilty on all 10 counts, gets 10 consecutive life sentences instead of the death penalty. Okay? Now, that just goes on and on. A few days ago, another woman arrested, stabbed to death 3 out of 5 of her children. Okay, so tell me, if you didn't like the days of Noah. So when he talks about the days of Noah, no. But it's just like now. It was then. Full of violence and for the exact same reason. All right? No respect for life whatsoever. And the people say that when you say, how are you pro-death penalty? Well, I'm pro for the victim.
Yeah.
All right?
And sometimes for the
Yeah, that's right. You get retribution, right. It is blood for blood in the case of murder.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll get to that in the book of Genesis as we go. All right? You'll remember it exactly when I say it. All right? So no. And when it makes that reference to the days of Noah, that is exactly what it means. All right? And they're seeing exactly the same thing. Now, from last week, you understand that part of that reason is because of one of those horsemen.
Yeah.
That seal that's popped, it's the second horseman. Or to say, well, it's the one that takes peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. All right? And the reason why it's so easy for them to work is because we don't extract the vengeance that we should be extracting from murderers. So, welcome to the last days, people. All right, let's go and see what it says in verse 12. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. Now, this is talking about Adam's lineage, right? We're focused on Adam's line. Keep that perspective. Don't lose it. All right, you want to understand. Now, with coming with that, remember, this is going to rely, the next couple lectures rely on everything we've learned about man from the beginning we started studying Genesis, all right? It's going to rely on everything that we've studied to understand the days of Noah in its completeness. And that'll build as we go. All right, so where I want to start tonight is with the word earth. All right, it's used in verse 12 of chapter 6. All right, the Hebrew word there is eretz. All right, and it is used 906 times in the Old Testament. Okay, that's where we first start. All right. So we have a Hebrew word, eretz. It's translated 906 times to earth. Now, if you do a strong search, though, for the word eretz, you'll find out that that word is used 2,191 times. Okay? What does that mean? That means that 1,285 times the word eretz is translated to something other than earth.
Yeah.
Okay? And it can mean ground, it can mean the land, it can mean the specific region. Okay, it can mean a lot of different things. All right, so that's where it comes with perspective then. We have to use all of the stuff, what was it called? Context clues.
Yeah.
So I remember all my kids would come in one point during their education and go, Dad, we learned about context clues today. All right, we have to use the context clues that we get to understand exactly what's going down because we are translating from an ancient language through German and a couple different versions of English to try and get a better grip on what we're actually in. Because somewhere there's a breakdown.
Yeah.
All right, the things that we teach, the things that we do, the little coloring books and the crayon stuff that we do about the days of Noah, all right, don't fit the overall scope of the things that we know and understand. All right, so that tells us there's a breakdown somewhere. And the breakdown is in the Bible, is from actually understanding what it's talking about. All right, I want you to keep that in mind. So that's part of the things. Now, let's just go on and see what it says. Verse 13, and God said unto Noah, then all flesh is come before me, for the earth, or the eretz, is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them from the earth, or the eretz. All right. Verse 14, make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shalt thou make in the ark, thou shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. Okay, here we're going to start doing some Hebrew work, all right? Now, on the video, you'll see some words that are highlighted. And when I highlight them in blue like that, that means I'm referencing the word in Hebrew. So if you're watching the video and you see it coming up, I'll be getting you a Strong's reference with each one of them. All right, so let's work this a little bit and understand what it means, all right? Get thee an ark, all right, the word ark. Now, when we think of Noah's day, we have this little crayon picture idea of this ship with a keel, with a bow and a stern, all right, that floats like a ship. All right, but that's not what the word ark means. Now, think about it. We're in Exodus. We're going to be talking about the Ark of the Covenant. Was the Ark of the Covenant a ship?
It's a box.
Right, it was a box, and that's exactly what ark means, all right? It is tebah, and it means a box. Quite simple. All right, so maybe our concept of exactly what Noah was going on in those days is just a little bit off based on that. And it's real hard to deal with because that is what we're indoctrinated with, is these pictures when we're really young about this boat.
A rudder.
Right, with a rudder, right, and all these things that are not really what it's designed. Now listen to what it says about it. All right, of gopher wood. All right, gopher wood is an interesting gopher. It's an unused root, and it means to house in. All right, so ark of gopher wood, say build you a box to house in. All right, now let's continue with this. And thou shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. Now, pitch is an interesting one. It starts, and shall pitch, it's 37:22. It's a prime root. It means to cover specifically with bitumen. All right. Bitumen is a petroleum product. It's found and occurs naturally in this region. All right.
It's their version of our gray tar pits.
Yeah, tar. Yeah, it's basically, it's a lot like tar, right? All right. But you don't really understand what that means until you get to, let's see, where was it? Let me get back to it. All right, let's go on with it. It means to placate or to cancel, to appease. Now listen to these words. To make atonement, to cleanse, to disavow, to forgive, to be merciful, to pacify, to pardon, all right, to put off, to make reconciliation. All right. Now, all these things are the cores to what we call Christian values. Okay, listen to them. To make reconciliation, that's what Christ did. He reconciles us with God, right? From a judicial point, at Judgment Day, you are pardoned for your sins, all right? You can be forgiven, all right? He's merciful, all right? He cleanses. All right, he goes on and on and on. All right, placate. All right, all these words are words that we associate with modern Christianity.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
All right, okay. So look at then the overall meaning then of what the ark in Noah's day. It says, I want you to make a box to house within, and I want you to pitch it with pitch from within and without. I want you to dab the mortar like you would dab a log cabin, with stuff like mercy, forgiveness, pardon, a ransom paid, things like that. All right, core values. Since it's a direct reflection of the last days then, what he's really describing is a church. It's a box to house, that builds you in the last days, a box to house in, and you pitch it within and without with Christian values. Okay, that's really what it's getting at about the Ark of the Covenant for the last days. Now, you think about the book of Revelations, out of those 7 letters that we studied not too long ago, only 2 of those churches stand good with God. All right, so you have 2 churches out there that have done exactly that. They've built the box to house within in the last days, and they've tempered it with Christian values on the inside and on the out. All right, and there are two of them. They're in the book of Revelation. They're called the Church of Philadelphia and the Church of Smyrna. All right, and both of those teach what the lineage of the Kenites is all about, which we got into deep when we got in the garden. All right, so now we understand really what the ark means. The ark of the last days means to us. All right, in the last days. So let's just continue with the book of Genesis. Verse 15, and this is the fashion which thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Verse 16, and a window shalt thou make in the ark, and in the cubit thou shalt fasten it above. And the door of the ark shall and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with a lower window with lower, second, third stories, thou shalt make it. All right, now that I've stuttered through that, we've got that said. I'm going to get it onto what it really is talking about. All right, let's see. I'm going to pull something up. I hope I still have it. Well, I'll get it for you real quick. Hold on. There we go. Genesis, we're in the days of Noah. I'm going to the website. That's what I'm doing because there's something on the website I want to show you. All right. We're talking about Noah. All right. I want everybody to look at this up here. The cubit of a man is about 18 inches. All right. If we were talking about a geber, it would be different because the cubit is dependent on who's doing the measurement. If it was a giant, then the cubit would be bigger. And the way it was determined was the length of the elbow to the middle finger of whatever king was on the throne of Israel at the time, and that was known as a standard cubit. All right, now we're using the cubit of a man because we're talking, Noah's the one doing the measuring. All right, so we're talking about an 18-inch cubit. All right, 300 cubits at 1.5 feet, 450 feet long. All right, the breadth is 50 feet. It's 50 cubits. It's 1.5 to 75 feet. All right, the height of it, 30 cubits, 1.5 feet, 45 feet tall. All right, big box, nonetheless, real big box. All right, but not boat. No. All right. Now, the normal idea in Christianity is that two of every animal on the planet is on Noah's boat, right? But I want you, this is where we start drawing on everything we've learned. Okay. 6-day creation of man, the 8th-day creation with Adam, the tiller of the ground. If you remember, there were two sets of animals, right? You had the 6-day creation, which is the eretz, the animal of the wild that were created on the 6th day. But on the 8th day, remember, there was another set of animals that was brought onto Adam that Adam named the Garden of Eden. All right, now you remember post-garden, Cain and Abel. Cain was what? Tiller of the ground. Oh, yeah. All right? Abel was out in the field with flocks. Okay, so you follow where we're going? So the animals then that were brought to Adam to name were the domesticated animals that were domesticated. Remember, it's not, with Adam, it was the animals of the field. It wasn't the animals of the earth. All right, it wasn't the animals of the earth. All right, it was the animals of the field, all the domesticated stock. Because you're going to be told what to put on the ark here in just a minute. And I want you to keep that fresh in your mind that, remember, when we're talking about animals, there was two sets of animals that were created in the book of Genesis. One was of the wild, and one was domesticated stock. All right, now, so hold on to that thought. Now listen to this. Okay, this right here is the Tananga. All right, and it's this ship that you see right here. All right, it is a really big ship. It's a cargo vessel, all right? Most of the world is supported in one way or another on ships exactly like this. This is one of hundreds, literally, that will sail in and out of the very port that this is taken from every year. Okay? Inside of this ship, let me see if I can put this up here so you can see all of it. All right? The length of this ship is 334 meters. Okay? That is 1,095 feet long. You can put 2.5 Noah's Arks from end to end inside of this ship. Okay? The beam, which is the widest point across the ship, all right, is measured at 42 meters, which is 137.8 feet across this bad bear.
Deck, yeah.
It is, right. All right. Yeah, and within that, you can put almost 2 Noah's Arks side by side, 2.5 across the bottom of it. All right. And yet, this is just one cargo ship just to feed the people of the world, and our little toys and our little balls and our little trinkets that we have and buy and sell in one ship. Okay. Now, so the modern convention says that it was 2 of every animal, and then we got our little crayons out, we draw our little elephants and our giraffes and our lions all in a nice little line walking up into this boat, that you can quite literally put almost 4 complete boats into this one tanker, or into this one cargo ship. And that's not even a tanker. A tanker's bigger than this by a lot. Okay, so there's something, we're missing something. All right, so we just got to keep digging with it. All right, so let's go back then to the book of Genesis, back where we were. All right.
Not to think of that, dude, but just think of all the animal species that have went to extinct.
That's right.
Well,
Even real since then, right?
Our time.
Now listen to this. Listen to what it says. All right, verse 17. All right, and behold, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. Okay, now, what did it say? Breath of life. When was the term breath of life used? Was it used when we studied the 5th day creation of the men from the water? All right, the word that was used there was nephesh, right, for soul.
Yep.
Men and women that had a soul is what he told to refill those islands and the regions with, right? It didn't say breath of life, it said nephesh. He goes to the 6th day, this man's created a hunter-gatherer well inland, all right? Stepping up, moving along. He's the one that migrates from place to place, seasonally. Does all these things, right? He has a soul as well. All right, but it's not until you get to the 8th day creation of Adam, the tiller of the ground, that you have the reference to breath of life. All of it means the same thing. All right, but breath of life was not used until it starts about Adam, and it's one of those things that goes to point directly to that it's the Adamic lineage that's actually being focused on here. All right, just to keep the perspective lined out, because this becomes important because we're getting ready to fill the ark with animals. So if we're focused on Adam's lineage, it has to be the animals that Adam named, not the 6th day creation Adam, or the 6th day creation of man. All right, and the animals of the world. All right, it'll build just a little bit better. Listen to what it says. Verse 18. But with thee I will establish my covenant. Who? With Noah and his family. All right? And thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh. All right? 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark to keep them alive with thee. And they should be male and female. All right. 2 of every flesh. What did it got? I told you when we studied this earlier, it said, what it says, for my spirit shall not strive with man, for man is flesh, and yet his years shall be 120. All right? I told you to remember that he declared that man was flesh. So, okay, now here's where you got to think. All right, if he tells him to load Noah and his family and 2 of every flesh, that if it's worldwide, then it has to be 2 of every other race that's out there, including the Kenites.
Yep.
All right, because they go out in 1 Corinthians, the Kenites are doing just fine at them. All right, so if it's worldwide, he has to load 2 of every flesh, just like it says. But the only thing that really keeps you off the boat is if you have any genetic material from the Nephilim in your genealogy.
Yours corrupted, yeah.
Right, now that's what's keeping you off the boat. It's just, I know this kind of contradicts what actually is taught in church, but I'm just asking you to think about the things that we've already learned. All right? Listen to what it says. Let's keep going. And of the fowls after thy kind, and the cattle after their kind, and of every creeping thing on the earth, the eretz, after his kind, 2 of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. All right, the purpose of the ark is to keep all these things alive. It's not to destroy the earth. All right, and this is real important when you start talking about 2 Peter chapter 3, where it outlines the 3 earth ages. If you don't understand that first age perished, and you try to put Noah's flood in there when it's actually talking about Genesis chapter 1, verse 2 flood, then you see how it gets confused then, all right? verse 22 or 21. Take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it unto thee, and it shall be food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Okay, so far we're with it. All right, chapter 7. I got to stop here just a second. Let me get a drink because I am parched. We're doing good. All right, everybody okay so far? You know where we are, everybody breathing fine. I know if you're watching online and you are really a churched up person, that what I teach can really cause some problems in your mind. I understand that, all right? But time is short, all right? And it's not a game. It's time to get with it. All right, now it's time to put away the crayons and the coloring books and little ideas about boats and little fuzzy, lovey-dovey stuff. All right, in fact, actually get with it. All right, we're in chapter 7. Now we're going to start putting it all together because here you have the load plan for the ark of Noah's ark, all right? And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. All right? So we're talking about Noah. Why is he righteous? Because of his genealogy, because he has remained faithful to who was teaching that. Remember, Enoch would have been the one. Yeah. Enoch was the one that walked with God. It just took him. He was so happy that with what Enoch said, all right, and God just called him home. All right, but out of all that, the only ones that actually listened then out of the Adamic lineage is Noah and his family. All right, by any measurement, that would seem to be a failure.
Yeah.
All right, but that's what happened. So Noah has remained faithful, and because of this, that is why Noah and his family survived. All right, now listen to what it says in verse 2, because this just blows the idea about the little 2x2 and everything out the door right here. Let God's word speak for itself. And of every clean beast, all right, thou shalt unto thee by sevens. All right, what does he mean by clean beast? What's the thing that's unique about beef? Food. It's what you eat. He just told him, take it with you everything that is eaten, including animals, right?
Pairs, not just
seven, right.
pairs.
So we're talking about what Adam and, what Abel was doing. He was a keeper of the flocks. By sevens, one male, you got 6 females, you got herds.
Yep.
And they're all clean animals, all right, or most of them are. Remember, if it splits a hoof and chews a cud and walks on the earth, you can eat it.
You can eat it, yeah.
All right, and these are the animals it's talking about by sevens. The other thing that the clean animal is used for is sacrifice. All right, you can't sacrifice a donkey. It's an unclean animal. All right, but you can a lamb, a sheep, a bovine, the bovine bunch. All right. Verse 3 of chapter 7. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth, or the arets. For yet in 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made I will destroy off the face of the earth, wherein there is the breath of life. Okay? Don't lose the perspective. Okay, now here what do we have? 7 days and 40 nights, all right? 7, that's our number, right? When we start talking about law, that's the number that all the law is built off when it comes to feast days. 2 sets of 7 after spring gets you Passover. 7 sets of 7 gets you to 49. The next day is Pentecost. All right, everything builds off of 7s. 7 means spiritual completeness. All right, so it may not have been 7 days, what I'm getting at. What it did mean by using the number 7, it could be invoking that idea of spiritual completeness. That yet, in whatever length of time is spiritually complete, I will cause it to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. 40 in biblical numerics means probation. All right, so at a time that is spiritually complete, there's going to be a time of probation. Is what the numbers actually indicate in this verse. All right, verse 5, and Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. And of the clean beasts, and of the beasts that are not clean, and of the fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in 2 and 2 unto the ark, or unto Noah into the ark, male and a female, as God had commanded Noah. Now, right there, that's where we get the idea of a male and a female, and a male elephant and a female elephant. But the 2 and 2 just means that he loaded the ark in 2 columns that were going into the ark, is all he's saying. And it was filled with the males and the females of the different animals that they had coming out of the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
All right, the very flocks that they were eating, which is what he told them to load the Ark of the Ark of the Covenant, the Noah's Ark with. All right, why? Because they were going to survive. They had to survive.
Food.
All right, they got a lot of wood. Now they got a lot of food. All right, those are the things that they needed to survive. And it came to pass after 7 days, or a period that is spiritually complete, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and on the 17th day of the month, the same day, were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. All right? That sounds like that gets real close to the 49th day, the 7th week, getting real close to Pentecost, right? So maybe we have worked in here another idea about Pentecost. I'm not worked it out to make sure exactly, but that sounds like it'd be real close to it. All right? Verse 12, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights for a period of probation. That's what that means. And the self-same day entered Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, the sons of Noah, Noah's wives, and 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. Verse 14, they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, or the arets, after his kind. Now remember, arets can mean anything. All right? It can mean the ground, a region, any area. It comes from the idea of being solid, like the ground being solid. All right? It doesn't have to mean the entire earth. We use up the context. All right? Context tells us what's going on. We're focused on the Adamic lineage. All right? They were tillers of the ground, and they were keepers of domestic stock. All right? He's told to load it by 7s with clean animals, and by 2s the unclean animals. All right? The unclean animals were beasts of burden, donkeys, camels, horses, things like that nature. I'm not so.
Well, they had
if they
7
horses.
days also to get to the ark.
That's right, and to load it. Yeah, well, that's why I say it's a period of spiritual complete.
Yeah.
Whatever time it took him to get it done could be run as it could be explained as 7, spiritually complete, right? All right, and they went into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh. Remember, for man is flesh. So if it's worldwide, they have to have 2 of every human. Have the example of every race that's on the planet, including Kenites. All right, all right. Wherein is the breath of life. All right, that's a direct reference right to Noah's bunch, or to Adam's bunch again. Verse 16, and they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the arets, or above the earth. All right. 18, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up upon the face of the waters. Verse 19, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills. Listen to these words. All the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. Did it say all the great mountains? No, this is a reference to high hills, not great mountains. Okay? And then listen, why is that important? Listen to what it says next. Because if you ever wondered if it was worldwide or not, this determines it right here for you. What does the next verse say? Verse 20, 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail that the mountains were covered. Here's translated mountains, but it was just translated high hills. 15 cubits is 21 and a half feet. Okay, now you got to remember this entire region is a basin.
Yeah.
All right, it's actually below sea level. Yeah. Okay, so a flood that is 21 feet in magnitude that hangs around 40 days while the flood is occurring, that's a massive flood.
Yeah, it's massive.
By any terms. But yet at 21 and a half feet, it cannot be, it doesn't even get you back to sea level at this region.
Yeah.
because it is that far below sea level. Okay. So that just means that we've missed something. We didn't understand, all right? And part of that breakdown, right, we've lost a lot of it in translation. Most of it comes because we don't recognize a distinction between the 6-day creation of man and the 8-day creation or formation of Adam, who was a tiller of the ground. All right, once you focus in on that, then Noah's flood, you start to get true perspective on Noah's flood. What was the importance? It was the Adamic lineage. Why? Because this is what Israel is going to be built from. This is the very lineage that the tribes of Israel come from. It is the very lineage that the Messiah is born through. Okay? That's why all this flood is so important. Listen to what it says. Let's go on a little bit farther. Yeah, we're doing good. 21. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth and every man. All right, wherein the breath of life was anyway, right? 22. In all whose nostrils, it says it actually.
Right there.
And in all whose nostrils was the breath of life. So all the Adamic lineage died.
Adam's lineage.
That's right. Specifically, right, because it uses breath of life.
Yes, sir.
And of all that was in the dry land died. 23. Every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and creeping thing, and fowl of heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth, or from the land, or the eretz, right? And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, out of the Adamic lineage. Okay? Now listen, because this is what it says here. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Okay, 150 days. 30 days. All right? 5 times 3 times 30 is 150. Okay. The waters that prevailed. Look at the waters as God's judgment. All right? This is how it relates to us in the last days. 150 days is 5 months. 5 months is the time that the whole beast has to run in the last days. It's a 5-month period broken in 2. The first half is a political beast. When the people start to worship it, it becomes a religious beast. All right? The entire time period is only 5 months. That's the time of God's judgment upon the earth, is that 5-month period. It's the same amount of time in Noah's day that the waters prevailed upon the earth, was the same 5-month period. All right? So there you see another connection exactly with the last days and exactly how it relates to us as far as the days of Noah goes. All right. The biggest thing to remember about the days of Noah, because we're going to stop here tonight, we'll pick it up in chapter 8 next week. All right. The biggest thing to remember is that who are they giving and taking in marriage to? It wasn't just each other. We were made to give and take. And think about what is that? When a man sleeps with a woman, that's wed. And we do that all the time. We're giving and taking and whatever, constantly, right?
Yeah.
All right, now, but the sin becomes really sinful when it is within the Nephilim. And so every time they're looking for women. We studied the
I
giants.
don't think that's something that we forgive.
It could be, yes, it could be forgiven, especially if they're taken completely by...
Taken, yes, but
Yeah.
if you've given yourself.
No, it's not unforgivable. No, there's only one unforgivable sin,
right.
right? And most people can't even commit it.
Yeah.
But the thing that you got to remember is that they'll be here looking for girls. They want women again because they were the first time in Noah's day. Just like in giants, when we studied the giants, the second invasion was, remember, David and his brothers wipe out the second round of them, right?
Yeah.
Well, they were there looking for women again to sorry age, so they'll try to be doing it again. They're going to want young ladies like you. Yeah. Right? Why? Because you're not wed to anybody. You're not going to want your wife, not going to want mine. All right? I don't want some girl that doesn't have a man because they're going to be trying to pull off that they're representing Jesus. So they can't take a wed woman. So they'll want young ladies that have not been married. All right? That's just a part of the scenario. And just so remember, just follow the way in the back. All right. Now, whether it's worldwide or not, it doesn't really matter as long as you understand when it says it's put 2 of every flesh, that you had 2 of every race then upon the ark. All right. Somehow they got through it because they're all, look around. They're here today. All right. So there's no way And just look around too, when it comes to all the animals, was it destroyed? Well, it didn't perish, like we talked about in 2 Peter chapter 3, where it was completely destroyed. All right? But the Adamic lineage was restricted to one family. All right? And the rest of this story then becomes, in the book of Genesis, the story of that family. We're going to start dealing with them, and we're in the flood now. We'll go through the flood, right, into the days of the Tower of Babel, and then out of that right into Abraham and Sarah. All right, so we're going to be continuing to move right along. And some of these stories we've talked about just for me and you guys when we're talking about, we're going to actually study them in the Bible. Like when Levi and his brother take revenge for his sister. We're going to break all that down. Because there's some good stuff in there, but it's not taught a lot in church because it's some pretty tough stuff.
Dark stuff.
Yeah, it's some really dark stuff. All right. But that makes me feel better when I study these great men in the Bible because they have a side to them that doesn't quite judge jobs. They're not perfect, right?
They're human.
They got serious flaws, every one of them, all right? And that gives me great comfort. All right, well, that's enough for one night. You guys online have a good night. We'll see you Thursday where we're going to be picking up with the actual law. And then if not, Sunday, we'll be back in Genesis chapter 8. Guys, have a good night.